You're listening to Empowered to Lead, the Therapist Practice. I'm Lisa Catallo, therapist, business coach, and your go-to for all things leadership and sustainable practice growth. This is your space for real talk, smart strategies, and grounded support to help you lead with confidence, work with intention, and build a business that actually works for you. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Empowered to Lead podcast. One of the things that's important to me in providing this podcast is to let you know that you are not alone as a group practice owner, as a mental health therapist who is running a group practice. And so some of that comes through in the individual times when I'm the only one talking, but other times too, just connecting with other Canadian group practice owners to hear their story. And maybe you can relate to what they're talking about, know that you're not alone. Maybe you can learn something from their process and who they are as a leader. So today I'm so excited to have Kathryn Atkinson join me. Kathryn is based on Vancouver Island, and we have gotten to know each other a little bit through a couple of different avenues, retreats and group practice connection, and just really appreciate her entrepreneur side. She's going to take over the island and just some of the perspectives that she has and how she leads her team. So I'm excited for this interview and to share a bit about you. Kathryn, why don't you introduce yourself? It said you're on the island, but tell us a little bit more about your group practice and we'll go from there.
Well, first of all, happy to be here. Thanks for having me on. Our primary location is on Nanaimo. We've got 2 locations in Nanaimo that we have kind of grown over the last 3 years. And so we're about 3.5 years old now. And I kind of wanted to establish a group practice to begin with, just because I really wanted to bring the people that I had already started to build collegial relationships with onto my team. So we started out kind of growing Nanaimo because I had an intern on my team that I just wanted to keep working with, and the space that I was working in just didn't allow for us to kind of work together in more of like an associate kind of contractor role. Yeah. So that's kind of where it started. And then I guess before that, I worked as a supervisor. So it was sort of something that was natural for me to want to mentor.
Yes. And so now you have 4 locations, right?
We have 5 physical locations.
Yeah. Okay. And I tease you about taking over the island. Is that actually something that you have as part of your vision, is like having locations throughout the island, or do you like sticking closer to where you actually live and where you're seeing clients?
So I want to collect good people. That's my vision. So my vision is about the practitioners and less about growth or location. So if I collected a person that I felt like was a really good fit for island counseling, and they were, I don't know, in another city, somewhere else on the island, or even potentially off the island, then I would consider opening a space for that.
Awesome. Thank you. One of the questions that I try and ask everybody who comes on the podcast, how would you describe yourself as a leader?
So I think the collecting people part is a huge part of who I am as a leader. And I think that I think about leadership in terms of relationship. So I look at kind of the strengths of the people that I work with, and I really try to highlight those, and maybe, even think about how they would fit into the group practice in the best way that meets their needs and also the needs of the community. So I think about it more in terms of how can I support these people to be the best fit in this work environment, and also to be the best fit in their role as a counselor.
Okay. So when you were introducing yourself, it sounded like you knew you wanted to have a group practice, because a lot of times when I'm talking to group practice owners, they call themselves like an accidental group practice owner. It just kind of fell into their laps. So was this something that you always knew you wanted to do, or how did that happen for you?
So what happened is I was in a location where I was a tenant, in kind of a multidisciplinary, mostly medical-based clinic. And I had my intern, and she was graduating. And while I had her there was a lot of kind of maybe not conflicts, but like differing values, I suppose, on like what I should be doing with that intern and how she would fit into the structure of the place that I was working in. And it didn't really feel like it would work for me. Like I would be actually spending a lot of time and energy probably finding referrals for her because I want her to be successful, but that wouldn't have in any way benefited me. And I thought to myself, well, it would make more sense then if I could actually have her work under me, because I could continue the mentorship relationship, which she wants. I could know where my clients are going and feel really safe to refer them to her. And then also I could make a little bit of money. So that's where the idea came to have the group practice.
Okay. And one of the things we've talked about, so you went from the two of you, and on opening day you had 6.
Yes.
Yes. It's like it grew very quickly.
Hear about it. Oh, like I'm taking this student with me. We're going to do this. And then they're like, oh, do you have space? And I was like, oh, well, other people would be interested in this. What is that about? And then I thought, okay, I'll follow that lead. And it turned out, instead of building a little space in my backyard, we rented a big 6-office building. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk about exponential growth. One of the things that you and I have talked about a few times, and sometimes I have a hard time wrapping my brain around, but I think we were talking earlier today on a call, and it just kind of clicked that there's actually a few group practice owners that follow a similar model to that what you have. Most people, when you think about a group practice in Canada, think contractor and that there's a split, whether that's 60-40 up to heard as high as 90-10 kind of split. You have done that differently. So maybe give us a little bit of a glimpse of why you chose to do that differently and what that structure looks like for you. And then also, are you happy with it?
Yeah. So I was advised just by my legal team to think about the people, I guess like the term we often hear is associates on my team, rather than as associates, to think about them more as tenants. And the reason for that has a lot to do with just how we wanted to structure what happened with the money that clients were paying the practice. And so because I see everybody on my team as an individual business owner and they're representing themselves, they collect the money from their clients, and then they pay me for a service we call the service rent. Just because that's an easy way to kind of talk about it. But rent is inclusive of, a picture and a bio on my website, email and a phone line and a space to see clients, a booking software to connect with clients, administrative support, printer, right? Things like that they can use so that when they come in to do their job, it's really seamless. And they can just sit down and do it. They collect payment just like they would if they were on their own. And then they come and pay us as our percentage. So it's still the same percentage that you were just talking about, but it's a percentage that's seen as a service that they're purchasing.
And are you happy that you chose that? Is that working well for you most days?
Most days. I think what doesn't work well is mostly when you're trying to establish contracts with other agencies. So, for example, we have a contract with a local society in Nanaimo, and they don't want to contract with each of my individual practitioners.
Yeah.
So that kind of is where things get a little bit harder. And so, for me, then I've decided to have an intern program that uses that contract, but it doesn't help my other practitioners.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I've heard a couple of people say that they were advised to do that because it really then keeps the lines clear between employee and contractor, or what the actual relationship is. You're paying for a service as opposed to I'm paying you to see clients, because sometimes too, you hear contractors saying, well, they're taking this from me. And this kind of model almost changes that to say I'm paying for this service, a little more delineated in some ways, hey?
It is. But then again, it still comes down to, do they value that service? So just like, do they value being part of your practice and not taken from them? Well, do they value my service enough to pay this large chunk of money?
Yeah. Perspective is huge, hey? And value. And even their sidetrack a little bit, but even for a group practice owner to know I have value in what I'm offering, people are going to see that or they're not going to, but this business has to work for me. So whether I choose a split or do the service fee, whether I choose to provide admin or not, that needs to work for my business, and have some of that confidence that people will catch your vision and buy into what you're doing and the relationship. And all of us do that differently, I think. That's one of the things that I love about this job, is just hearing all the different nuanced ways that we do this, because there's no like cookie cutter approach, I don't think, for this at all.
Totally.
What is a common misconception or mistake that you often see group practice owners when it comes to making big decisions? So whether it's legal or financial, operational, like in growing their business, is there something that you see?
A lot of people are actually nervous to take the risk to invest. People ask me, how did you grow so fast? And I say, well, because I wanted to collect those people and have them be part of my brand, but also I was willing, to spend this money to open up something in a community I know nothing about. And so, I have to recognize that, I might not make a profit on that for a little while. So it is definitely an investment, but I think that it's smart to take those risks, just like when you take a risk to advertise. I mean, it's always a risk to spend, $2,000 on this Google ad and then not know if that's going to help you or not. Well, it's no different, I think, when you put money into the business. So hiring a second admin, we're doing that. That is a risk as well. And that is also, though, me investing in a better service for my practitioners and also just a better service for clients.
Yeah. One of the things, so this was not a question that I asked you before. When you think about leading this group practice, you're doing this on your own. So even when you were saying like bringing on a second admin, what do you think has been important to support you as a leader, the team maybe that you built? Because you used the term legal team. Now you've talked about a second admin. Who is in your corner to help you do this job well?
Yeah, I think I do have like people that I feel like are in leadership positions. So in a sense that I think what defines that is people that really share the same values as Island Clinical Counseling, and also, have kind of stakes in it as well. Like they want it to succeed for themselves as well as for the agency. And so I think, I involve them in a lot of my decision making, and one of my admin is one of those members of the leadership team. I've been also fortunate to have my partner come on board as a co-owner now. And so he is more in business minded than clinical minded. And so to have someone who's a little bit more objective has been useful.
Yeah. So you've got a few different people in place to support you and to help you excel where you thrive in this role then, hey?
And I think I need them because I need people to also sort of balance me, because it is quite addictive to grow a company.
Yeah. It's kind of, you get an adrenaline rush out of doing it.
You do, as a dopamine hit every time you see something good happen or a client win or something like that. And so to have people to also be able to say, is that a good idea? Like maybe we should think on that. Maybe we shouldn't take that person on. I don't do interviews on my own. I did at the beginning, but I feel like it's really important to have more people lay eyes on the people that we're going to be bringing on.
Yeah. What are some ways that you have felt supported through some of the things that we've done together? So retreats, group practice, connection, those kinds of things. How has that helped you in having team or support around you?
The thing that I like most about it is that a lot of the people are from different communities. I have tried to do the same thing here in my community. So there's a few group practice owners that I have made really great connections to, but there's always this underlying fear, I think, that they have, or, like how much do we share with one another because we're servicing the same area, and what does that mean and what does that look like? And then although some of the people from the group practice network do share similar communities, I haven't really felt that fear of like competition or stealing from each other. It's been just really supportive. So I think that people that choose to participate in like the GPO network, I think they want to collaborate. And that's something that I've been really grateful for, because I have always wanted to collaborate, and I find it really frustrating when I have that wall up from the person that I'm going to collaborate with. And so for me to be able to just like verbally process with other people that understand what I'm doing and the work that I'm doing has been really important for me.
That's so cool to hear that, because that's one of the biggest reasons why I started it. Because when I started in group practice, there weren't very many Canadians doing like supporting or leading how do you start in group practice. But also every time I reached out and tried to connect with another group practice owner, it was like, nope, I'm scared you're going to take this and maybe do better than me or not share that. And so really wanted that community and that connection and kind of sharing and growing from each other. But there is that element to as long as you're in that city over there, it makes it a little easier to share some of those tips and tricks. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. Coming back, one of the things I said before, like it doesn't feel like there's like a cookie cutter approach. There's not like one size fits all for group practice owners. So when you think about someone showing up as an effective leader of a group practice, leading other therapists, what do you think is one thing that's important for them to consider or to have in their leadership pocket?
I think it's really important for them to think about representing their clinic or their business more than themselves. So when I mean that, I mean, like for me, I have had to work through some like people pleasing kind of aspects to my own personality, and like, what I as Kathryn would decide might look very different from what Island Clinical Counseling would decide. It's why I had to remember that I am representing the company. And one thing that I have found really helpful is I do have kind of like that mama bear thing going on for my kiddo at home. And I feel a little bit of that with the company. Like I feel very protective of it. I want to guard it. I want it to do well. I want to caretake it. And so I think when I recognize that, it helps me make decisions more objectively.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. One last question. If someone is listening to this podcast and they're feeling overwhelmed or they're not feeling sure about their role as CEO, sometimes imposter syndrome, what's one small step that you think they could take to move in the right direction?
Yeah, when I first sort of thought about this question, I was thinking about, purpose and finding kind of the reasons and the rationale for why you're doing this work. And a lot of people, that comes down to their ethics and their values around client work and wanting to provide best services. I think for me, it's very purposeful to be able to provide a service that the community feels safe to access and that's really accessible. And so, I kind of go back to that. Am I providing that by doing this? Or now have has my lens shifted and now I'm just focusing on money, or now I'm just focusing on pleasing the people that work here and making sure everyone there is happy? No, I really want to come back to what are the kind of grassroots foundation of why I am a counselor and why Island Clinical Counseling exists.
Yeah. I tend to, like, for me, I call that shiny object syndrome, right? Like, am I just being attracted by something that somebody else thinks I should do, or it sounds kind of fun right now, but it's not actually in alignment with who am I as a leader and where am I wanting this business to go? What's the purpose behind it? All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Kathryn. If you have been listening to the podcast and you want to be learning more about Island Clinical Counseling, there will be a link to her website in the show notes. And stay tuned. Come back next week and learning more about leadership skills and how to show up as an effective group practice owner. And again, thank you so much, Kathryn. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for hanging out with me on Empowered to Lead, the therapist practice. I hope you're walking away with something that you can put into action, because leadership isn't about doing more, it's about leading with purpose. If you're ready for deeper support, I'd love to see you inside the Group Practice Connection, my monthly membership where Canadian therapists like you get coaching, community, and the tools to build a business that actually supports your life. You can check it out at grouppracticenetwork.ca. The link's in the show notes. And hey, don't forget to hit follow so you don't miss what's coming next. We're building something great here, and I'm so glad you're a part of it.